How does caregiving fit into our talent strategy and succession planning? Picture your rising stars, the ones you believe will lead. Picture your rising stars, the ones you believe will lead your organization someday. They're talented, they're capable, they're driven. You've made plans for them. Rotation, stretch assignments, mentorship. But some of those employees are juggling something else too, quietly, out of view. Maybe they're caregivers. They may be caring for children, aging parents, a spouse, or multiple people at once. They're performing at work while carrying invisible responsibilities at home that you're not even aware of. Now envision one of them stepping out of the leadership track, not because they lack skill or they lack ambition, but because no one ever considered their caregiving load while planning their development. Suddenly you have a gap in your succession plan, and maybe you never saw it coming. Caregiving doesn't pause for your org chart. If your talent pipeline ignores it, your plans might already be built on sinking sand. If we haven't met, I'm Dr. Anna Thomas. I'm a physician, leadership speaker, caregiver advocate, and corporate wellness specialist. I help organizations strengthen their workforce and create workplaces where people and performance can thrive together. Even as we enter an era of AI, automation, and agentic teams, the future of work is still human, and that work is changing dramatically. But at the same time, employees are navigating complex personal and professional pressures that are only going to escalate in the coming years. For example, in the next 5, 10, 15 years, we will see an exponential increase in the number of older adults who will need caregiving support. Who will be providing that care? Working adults. Right now, 63 million Americans are caregivers. That's 1 in 4 adults, with more than half of them currently working full-time. Those numbers are expected to increase and will have a tremendous impact on our communities and, yes, even our workplaces. And caregiving is just one example of a personal stressor that will impact the workplace. Mental health, chronic illness, stress, and burnout are all on the rise, and the organizations that will thrive are those that lead with care, culture, awareness, resources, and empowerment. Care. Through this series, I share practical strategies, leadership tools, and insights to help you create cultures that support well-being, strengthen engagement, and retain top talent. If you'd like a clear starting point, then check out my free training, The Future of Work is Care. The link is below. And while you're there, be sure to like, subscribe, and share this with another leader who is ready to build a workplace that cares. Let's get into today's topic. I've seen what happens when leadership systems assume that everyone's top performer is always present. But life doesn't follow neat policies. Parents get older, children need support, health crises arise, and people adapt, they step back, they juggle, and sometimes they exit roles that you thought were secure. When you don't build succession plans that account for caregiving, you risk losing more than just talent. You lose continuity, trust, institutional memory, and potential. So today we'll walk through where caregiving silently intersects with leadership pathways, what that means for talent strategy, and how to integrate this into succession planning without lowering standards. Some concrete steps that you can begin now. And by the end, you'll see that care isn't an obstacle. It's a leadership dimension that you can't afford to ignore. Succession planning typically ranks on these metrics: performance, potential, readiness, and experience. But many plans fail to recognize this underlying factor in the background: life and care responsibilities. And here's how the disconnect shows up. A promising candidate declines an opportunity because their home demands shift. Someone gets passed over because they're perceived to have less availability even though they deliver results. A person quietly exits a track not because they're disengaged, but because the path becomes untenable. And when you exclude caregiving from your planning narrative, you exclude people who are leading in times of complexity. A leader leaving mid-track doesn't just vacate a seat. They break trajectories for themselves and their whole team. And you don't have to settle for a trade-off between care and leadership. You can start reframing it right now. See caregiving not as a liability, but as a skill set. Negotiation, crisis management, prioritization, emotional intelligence. These are the muscles that they're building under pressure. Except that capacity will shift over time. And leadership trajectories don't have to be linear. They can be adaptive. Someone in a high care season doesn't lose their path. They just move a little differently. And make this inclusion explicit, not optional. If your leadership norms prioritize being always on, you silently disqualify the leaders who are having life demands right now. But when you begin to see caregiving as part of human capacity, not outside of it, your talent plans can evolve accordingly. So how do you build systems that don't penalize but support caregivers in your leadership ladder? Enrich your readiness criteria. Beyond skills and performance, ask, how does this person manage complexity outside of work? When faced with a change or a challenge, how do they adjust their priorities? Do they show resilience, even under times of crises? These questions can help you capture confidence that is shaped by caregiving. Second, design flexible leadership pathways. Maybe you have co-leadership roles where two people share a role, or you have temporary adjustments, or shadowing and interim fills, ways that you can adjust roles temporarily. Third, you want to buffer the pipeline with overlap and cross-training. Expect that transitions will happen. Don't plan everything with ideal assumptions. Ensure that others are also ready to step in without destabilizing the team. And encourage transparency. You don't have to share the private details, but create norms that care demands can be surfaced. It's okay to talk about it during one-to-ones and planning. When employees feel safe naming care, you can plan around those constraints. And don't forget to monitor. Collect the data. Who is advancing? Who is pausing? Who drops off? Look for patterns to unseen burdens, not just the visible ones. And then adjust your plan. Here are some ways to frame conversations when you're talking about talent planning. Maybe when you're talking about goals, you might say, I appreciate how you've managed your goals despite all these additional responsibilities that you've taken on at home. That shows leadership. We like to offer you the stretch role on a timeline that works for you. Let's map your path, considering the seasons that you're in right now. These are ways that you can support your future leaders. And if you're shaping your leadership trajectories, note this. Every time you omit caregiving from your plans, you risk building pipelines for people who might not be able to stay. And when someone silently steps back, talent doesn't just leave the team, they leave your entire vision. But when you reframe care as part of potential, expecting, not excusing, you gain resilience, loyalty, and strength. Remember, leadership isn't just about performance. It's about navigating life and work together. If this has shifted your view of succession strategy, I encourage you to check out my free training, The Future of Work is Care. It walks you through how to weave caregiving using the CARE framework into your workplace. And if you haven't checked out my book, Workplaces That Care, be sure to pick up a copy on Amazon. It is your playbook for building a resilient workplace that supports and retains your employees. In the next video, we're going to talk about the ROI of supporting caregivers at work. While you're waiting for that one, check out this video, How Do Leaders Empower Teams When Life Disruptions Hit Suddenly? Remember, in this age of AI, the future of work is still human. So let's create workplaces that care together.